Well, what is up, y'all? We are back with another 5-minute metal tone update. Because last week I showed you how to create a really sick metal tone on the Quad Cortex in 5 minutes or less, and today we're updating it to make it sound better. And today's a sponsored video. I don't get many of these lately, so it's kind of cool to have a sponsored video. Today's video is sponsored by Stigmatized Productions because they sent me their new Legion of Doom Impulse Response Pack. And I know that was not a Doom riff that I just played, but I'll be damned if that tone didn't sound sick, right? And for those of you that are unaware of what an impulse response is, it's essentially a snapshot taken of a speaker in a guitar cab with a certain microphone so that you can use it as a file inside of your favorite plugins or your modeler. Like for me today, I'm using the Neural DSP Quad Cortex, but these can be used with your favorite amp sims inside of a computer as well. It doesn't have to be an actual hardware unit for you to use these. And there's so many impulse responses out there that they are by far the easiest way to change your tone completely and get a completely different sound rather than your tone sounding like everybody else's, because no two impulse responses are the same unless you just duplicated the file, of course, and sure, those two are the same. Now, specifically for this impulse response pack, 2 cabinets were used. One was loaded with V30s and one was loaded with Greenbacks. Now, it's kind of cool to have an impulse response pack with a bunch of Greenback IRs in it. That's something that I don't think I have a lot of. And looking at the list of microphones that Stigmatized Productions used was a Shure SM57, of course, why wouldn't you? Then a Sennheiser MD421, again, that is kind of a standard here, a Beyerdynamic M160, and a Royer 121. The Royer, I believe, is a ribbon mic. Correct me if I'm wrong there, I always get this kind of stuff wrong. So each microphone was captured in 9 different positions, so there are a lot of files here that you'll be able to scroll through and find the sound that fits your tone the best, or for whatever it is that you're tone hunting for at that given time. And they range from, being dead center in the center of the speaker cone itself, all the way to the outer edge. So that way you have a really wide gamut of tonal possibilities because of the mic captures. And that is just for the raw impulse responses that are included in this pack. Then there are the Mix-Ready ones, which we're going to be using some of the Mix-Ready ones today. We'll go through a ton of them, don't you worry, but we're going to be using the Mix-Ready ones first. And believe it or not, the Mix-Ready ones were what you heard there at the beginning. But all in all, you have 72 impulse responses that are just the raw impulse responses, and then 15 Mix-Ready impulse responses. And remember, using either the Quad Cortex or any other plugin on your computer that you want to, you can combine these to have basically infinite possibilities for impulse responses. Combining IRs is probably one of my favorite things to just sit there and fiddle with, to be honest with you. So let's go ahead and dive into Cortex Control so I can show you all what I'm working with here today. Now, stick around till the end because I'm going to show you guys a trick with the Quad Cortex that usually you would have to use a secondary pedal to do, but because the Quad Cortex has a looper built in, there's something really cool for dialing in tones I'm going to show you towards the end of the video. So in Cortex Control, you'll notice that this is a little bit different than last week's video because I have 2 different modules in here. I have a looper, and I'm going to show you why in a second here. But then as far as an overdrive goes, we have the traditional Maxon OD808 with some very traditional settings inside of it. We're working with the PV6505 lead channel. And then for the stock built-in impulse responses in the Quad Cortex, I was working with a Mesa 2x12 with an SM57 and then a Ribbon 160. And this is what that tone sounded like. I've turned off my EQ block because I want this to be a very fair comparison. So this is what we're working with. So I already loved that tone, very clear, very articulate, but if I switch to my next scene here, which is scene B, I can then go ahead and show you what I built afterwards. So for me, those impulse responses are sounding brighter and more clear with 0 EQ. I'm not using any EQ here, no post-processing, no compression, no nothing happening. That's literally just 2 of the impulse responses from the pack loaded up. So the specific 2 that we're using are the SM57 Blend Center Dust Cap Edge Mix. We have the center of the dust cap and then we have the edge of the dust cap. So we have both ranges of the spectrum there blended into one. Then the second blend, we're using 2 blends here. We're using a ton of different mics, actually. The next one is the All Mic Blend 2. So let's go ahead and turn off the All Mic Blend 2. This is what it's like with just the first blend. And then if we turn off that and hear just the second blend, so both pretty damn great in their own rights, but then combined we've got this. So listen to those chugs, listen to the palm mute. as opposed to the stock built-in impulse responses. So in my opinion, the Legion of Doom impulse responses just give it that little bit of extra. And again, it sounds different because it's not the same impulse responses that everybody else is using. All right, and as I promised, I'm gonna show you guys a trick with the looper pedal real quick. So if we open up the looper module here, you'll notice it looks like it always does, right? But something that I like to do with real pedals and real amps is I put a looper pedal in front of everything. And I play a riff into that looper pedal and then let it keep looping and playing while I dial in my pedals or my amps. Quad Cortex works just the same way because of the built-in looper. I don't have to grab another looper pedal to plug into it, which is really convenient. And this also means I don't have to go routing things in my DAW to make it reamp the signal back into it, which is time-consuming and annoying to then undo and do everything again. So this just makes it way simpler to be able to dial it in. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna record a riff into this real quick. So let's go ahead and hit record. All right, and now we've got it recorded into the looper, and so all I have to do is hit play, and then I can switch between my different scenes and let you hear the different impulse responses back to back. So let's go ahead and hit play, and I'll do that by switching between scene A and scene B, which are where I've saved the different impulse responses here. So you can hear the difference pretty starkly there, and it's a lot easier to hear that difference when you're hearing it back and forth immediately rather than having to pause and switch things, right? I can just click with my mouse to click between the two different impulse responses and I'm good to go. Now where I find this extremely useful, let's go ahead and bring up another impulse response block. So we'll bring up the IR loader and we'll do the dual mono again because that's just how I like to work with it. And if we go to my IR files here, let's go to the Mix-Ready and let's go ahead and click on the All Mics Blend Mix 2. And click done. So what I'm going to do is turn off the other impulse response and I'm going to hit play on the looper and then I'm going to cycle through all of the impulse responses so you can hear all of them back to back to back to back to back. And this is great because it allows you to then choose which impulse response sounds best to your ears. So let's go ahead and open up the looper and then hit play and then I'm going to cycle through them. So you can see how easy it is to do that, right? Now, what I want to do next instead, so we just went through all the Mix-Ready ones, but let's go ahead and go through some of the raw ones. I want to hear these Greenbacks because I don't use enough Greenbacks. So let's go ahead and start with Doom Cab 2, and we're going to go back and hit play. And I'm going to scroll through a couple of these to let you hear the difference. So as you can see, the impulse responses are labeled as 1 through 9 for each of those different microphones. 1 being the brightest, meaning it's the closest to the center of the cone. 9 being the darkest, meaning it's the furthest to the edge of the cone instead. And so you can kind of visually go and choose which ones you think you're going to like. I usually like to combine the first one with one that's a little bit further off. So let's just do a tone real quick that's just the Greenbacks. I'm going to go ahead and hit play and let this play through while I do a Greenback tone with 2 different Greenbacks. I'm going to do one closer to the cone with an SM57, and then we'll probably choose the 121 or the 421 for the second microphone. So I'm gonna hit play and go in. All right, that's the combination that I'm liking. Now let's go ahead and doctor it up a little bit because again, I'm using the raw ones, I'm not using the Mix-Ready. So what we're going to do is I'm going to mess with the high and low pass filters on both of these different cabinets right now, and then let you hear the outcome as I'm going, because I'm going to hit play again on the looper. So. All right, now let's go ahead and jam through it so you can hear. So we just made yet another custom impulse response. So that one's a little bit less bright, a little bit more articulate. I feel like I'm hearing a lot of really cool things as far as the harmonics and everything go, and it's another really sick one. But that is how easy it is to dial in 3 completely different tones using something as simple as an impulse response block on the Neural DSP Quad Cortex, or again, any plugin that you use as well. All of Neural DSP's plugins allow you to upload your own custom impulse responses to them and even blend 2 of them together. But then there are impulse response plugins such as Cabinetron and Miko 2, and the list goes on. There's a ton of different cabinet impulse response loading plugins that you can use as well to let you load as many as 10, 15 different plugins at once. I think Cabinetron let me do like 15 or something dumb like that. And it's cool because you can really customize your sound in a way that you would never be able to, because let's be real, people like you and me, we don't have the money to buy these cabinets and these expensive speakers. So having the impulse responses to get us in the range of that tone that we're looking for is really awesome. And it's a rabbit hole. Let me warn you there. It is a rabbit hole that you're probably going to go down, and you might spend hours just clicking through all of them and getting stoked on a sound and then realizing, oh man, I need to go and click on another one. And then you find another sound that you like even more. So learn from me, save your favorites. Save your favorites, that way you know and can go back to them and compare them. And remember that looper trick because it's really fun to do. If you're working within a DAW and plugins, you don't need to worry about a looper because you can just record it into the DAW and loop it there. If you're working with other real pedals and things like that, and an impulse response loading pedal, for instance, get yourself a little cheap looper pedal, put it at the beginning of your chain, be good to go. So I hope this helps. I really hope that you check out the Stigmatized Productions Legion of Doom Impulse Response Pack. There is an affiliate link down below. I've worked with Stigmatized Productions for a while. They're a great company. They have great drum plugins as well, but I really hope you check these out. Again, link down below. If you use it, it's an affiliate link and it helps your boy out to keep doing this kind of stuff and providing you with free knowledge as to what something sounds like so that you can make an informed buying decision, because that's all I'm here for at the end of the day. But yeah, that's it for today. Let me know what you want to hear from me next, y'all. And if you haven't already, please hit that like button. Please hit the subscribe button. It helps me out immensely, and I'm very appreciative of every one of you that decides to. I'm having the time of my life making this content, and that is no joke. I'm being cheesy, I know, but I really do enjoy this stuff. So until next time, peace and love, and I will talk to you in the next one. Bye.